to Ready, Set, Rally. I'm Holly Ferguson. I'm a retired dog trainer and behaviorist with 20 years experience, and I have trained thousands of dogs. Rally is my passion, and my philosophy is that the better trained and prepared you and your dog are for the rally ring, the more fun that you'll have. Today's topic is effective communication in the rally ring. Let's get started. Dogs and human beings communicate differently. Dogs communicate with body language. They can't understand abstract concepts, and they don't have the ability to understand complicated language. If you're not communicating in a way that your dog can understand, your dog's going to become confused. And there's two main ways that dogs show that confusion in the ring. The first is they can become out of control. They can jump around, they can do the zoomies, they can pull away from you, they can react to other dogs, or maybe if they're off leash, they'll go visit the judge, or worse yet, somebody outside the ring. Or they can shut down. If they're thoroughly confused, they'll just shut down. And what this looks like is sniffing, looking anywhere but at the person, slowing down, lagging. They're just like, too much. I don't know what's going on. I'm just going to kind of be over here. Don't worry your pretty little head about me. And that's not what we want. Learning to communicate effectively means that there is training for the human at the one end of the leash, and that there's training for the dog at the other end of the leash. So here are some things that communication is not. And I've seen all of these things in many different places. I've done rally a lot in a lot of different places. I've watched people, and I see these things regularly. And the first thing is constant chatter. Your dog is going to shut that out. Again, dogs don't understand complex language. So if you're saying, come on, let's go, hurry up, we need to go, let's go over here. They're not catching any of that. They just hear the wah, 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 like the Charlie Brown cartoons. So they're not really catching anything. They may catch a word here, they may catch a word there, but it may not be the word you want them to catch, and it may not be what you want them to do. The second thing is making those high-pitched noises. I've seen this way too many times, and I know the thought process is, if I'm up here, boo! The dog's going to look up at me. And that's true at the beginning, but eventually they'll tune that out too. Nobody wants to listen to that. The dogs are like, this means nothing, and the surprise element is gone. So the high-pitched noises are not communicating with your dog. The next one is praising for attention. I don't like this one because it makes praise meaningless, and I find praise an important part of communication. So I'll see people whose dogs are pulling away from them, or not listening to them, or looking elsewhere, and they'll say, good dog, and the dog looks up because the dog is expecting something good, and the dog thinks it was doing something good. So if we praise without meaning, then praise becomes meaningless, and we don't want that. If your dog's looking away and you say, good dog, you've just praised your dog for that behavior, and that's going to make that behavior stronger. So praising for attention or meaningless praise is not communication. The last one is luring or targeting. Now you may say, I don't lure or target because I never get marked off for it. But there's a difference between luring that is going to lose you points in the ring and actually luring as a practical concept. So one of the problems with luring is, or the main problem with luring, is that you are asking your dog to pay attention to one thing for over 2 minutes. That's really difficult. It's unsustainable. That's one of the ways that dogs will shut down. They're like, I can't watch this anymore. And they'll start looking around for something more interesting. They'll sniff the ground to kind of block you out. So luring and targeting are not ways to communicate effectively in the ring. They're good training methods. I use both of them. I use both of them frequently, but they're not for communication. They're for teaching. And once you get in the ring, your time for teaching is over. It's time to communicate. Then what is effective communication in the ring? I've narrowed it down to 3 things that I think work really well. The first is letting your dog know exactly what you want through voice and body language. I mean, that's just kind of the foundation of effective communication. If your dog is not sure what you mean when you give a command, then all the communication in the world isn't going to help the dog. So the dog needs to know from you, using precise language and body movement, what it is that you want him to do. The second thing is correcting in a non-forceful, legal way. So correcting has a very negative connotation, but it's not always a negative concept. We can correct ourselves. We're going too fast on the highway. We look down, oh, and we realize it, and we let up on the gas a little bit. It's like, thank you. Now I won't get pulled over for speeding at the speed trap ahead. So when I correct, I do 2 things. One might be to step towards the dog. The other might be to just go, and then remind the dog what I want the dog to do. The third thing is praising them when they do something right. Remember, I said praising was going to be important, and I think it is very important in the ring when done correctly. Your dog feels confident when he knows that he's doing what he's supposed to be doing. When you praise your dog and you mean it, your facial features change. If your dog is pulling away from you and you're upset, you're just like, good dog. And then they turn and look at you, and by then your facial expression is probably gone anyway. If your dog is, let's say, walking next to you from one cone to the other and you're looking down, you're like, good dog. That's a good dog. Everything about your face says that you're happy with what he's doing, and that makes him happy. So I love praise, especially in those places between the cones when there's not a whole lot going on. So praise is very important. Anything more than that, and your dog is going to be confused. How do we put this into practice? The first thing is to say what you mean. That means one command, one behavior. That's it. And a command is a very simple word, maybe 2 words. If you're giving a full sentence for your dog to do something, you're probably confusing your dog. If your dog's not confused, it's probably because they've picked up on that one word that lets them know what you mean. One time, I was at a WCRL rally trial, and there was a woman with a very good dog, and I think it was like an Australian Shepherd or something like that. And I was watching her practice. I watched her in the ring the first time, and when she used the word close, she was having her dog come into heel position beside her. Perfect command. Words mean what we teach our dogs, what they mean. So close was her word for come into heel position. And that was all fine and good until the very last card in one of the courses, where it was call the dog front and take 3 steps, and the dog has to stay in front. And so she called the dog front. The dog came front very nicely. And then when she stepped over, she said close, meaning in her human mind, stay close to me. I think if anybody was with her and you know, we were in a situation where we were facing each other and we had to stay close, maybe as we got through a narrow passageway or something, we would know exactly what she meant. But to the dog, close meant come into heel position. And that's exactly what the dog did. And she seemed confused. So dogs, one word, one behavior. Commands only have meaning. Words only have meaning for dogs if there's a behavior connected to them. They can't do abstract things. Abstract words, concepts don't work for them. There has to be a behavior connected to that command for it to have meaning. So, say what you mean. The second thing is mean what you say. And this goes back to compliance. If you are giving a command, repeating it, maybe not following through, that's what your dog is learning. They're learning that you don't mean it. Dogs learn exactly what we teach them, and if you say, sit, 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 I said sit, oh, forget it. And it may not be that dramatic. You may be in the ring and decide to move on, or the judge may even tell you to move on, but your dog is learning that they don't necessarily have to listen, or they don't have to listen until you get to the point where they know you mean it. So First command, follow through. So we're going to say what we mean and mean what we say. And the third thing is to watch your body language. Body language trumps voice every single time with dogs. So I often demonstrate this when I'm doing a seminar or a class, and I'll take one of my dogs or a dog that I know is very well trained, and I'll stand there and I'll say sit, and the dog will sit. And then I'll say down, and the dog will down. And then I'll get the dog up, and I'll just do the signal sit, and the dog will sit, and down, and the dog will down. Then I'll tell the dog to sit while I do the down command, and the dog will down 100% of the time. I'll get the dogs up, and then I'll say down while I do the sit command, and the dogs will sit 100% of the time. What we do with our body when we're with our dogs is so important. We want to make sure that we're watching our body language. Now, I think a lot of us are aware of that concept, but what I see often in rally is that people become more when they're in the ring. So if a nice little signal is working outside the ring, they're just worried and they're going to do this big signal and their whole body language is going to change or their voice is going to get loud. And for the dog who can't grab these abstract concepts and all this complex movement and language, it suddenly becomes confusing. So you want to make sure that you use the same body language in the ring that you use outside of the ring. Super, super important. Doing that requires you training. That's people training. We have to be aware of how we're moving in both the ring and in training. So you have to be sure that you video yourself in both contexts, so you can see what might be changing. I've noticed it. I've done it before. I've watched videos of me and I went, oh, I usually do this, but here in the ring, I did it this way, and then I would have to change it. So just be aware. So we want to say what we mean. One command equals one behavior. We want to mean what we say. We're always going to follow through, and we're not going to repeat commands. Very hard because people are language-based. And you're going to watch your body language and make sure that it's the same inside the ring as it is outside of the ring. So if you follow all of that, then you shouldn't have an issue with communicating in the ring. Make sure that communication is for your dog, not for you. And we all want a well-trained dog. So we're going to train outside the ring. We're going to bring that into the ring, and we're going to follow that exactly. We're going to get rid of all the humanness in our behavior, which is often hard for us because we do like words. We also like a lot of emotion. And most of the people I've met in rally are nice people. And sometimes just communicating at that level that will make the dog comfortable feels uncomfortable to us because we really feel like we should be giving word hugs and things like that. But your dog, all he knows is that you're telling him what he needs to do because you're the one who knows the rules. You're the one who knows the signs. You're the one who can read the numbers. So your dog knows you're telling him what you want him to do. You're letting him know if he makes a mistake in a nice way. And you're praising him when he does it right. And then at the end, you're going to leave that ring and you are going to be so happy because your dog is doing exactly what you want your dog to do. No matter what the score is, no matter the mistakes he made, your dog, everything that dog does in the ring, he does to please you. So you have to be sure that you give him every chance you can to do it right. So I hope this is useful for you. I hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to like, subscribe, ring the bell so that you get notified of new content. And please share with your rally friends so that they can learn to communicate effectively in the ring and leave that ring with the happiest dog in the show. Thanks, and we'll see you next week. Bye-bye.